As a reminder, please mute yourself as you enter. Just let everyone come in from the meeting room and then we'll get started. Please be prepared when you are called to testify to both unmute yourself and to turn on your camera. It is essential that you turn on your camera to be present for this hearing as you will be sworn in. This is an emergency hearing before the Licensing Board for the City of Boston. Today is Monday, January 4th, 2020. Before we begin with some procedural items, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. I'm Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Licensing Board, and we're joined today by Commissioner Kiana Saxon and Commissioner Liam Curran.
Thank you. Today's hearing is being conducted pursuant to certain amendments to the open meeting law. This is what allows us to meet virtually. This hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. When you are called, I will call the name of the licensee. I will ask if there are any individuals present to testify on behalf of the licensee. At that time, please turn on your camera if it is not already on and unmute yourself and identify yourself by your name and your role with the company. After that, I will ask who is present from the Boston Police Department to testify. After that, I will ask if there are any other individuals present with personal knowledge of the incident who wish to testify. At that time, I will then swear all parties in and the police report will be read into the record. After the report, the licensee will have the opportunity to make any statement it wishes to make, after which the chairwoman and the commissioners will ask questions. Beginning with item 1, the licensee is Little Q Company, Inc., doing business as Little Q Hot Pot, Sushi Bar and Lounge. License premise is 660 Washington Street. This is a CV 7-day all alcoholic beverages license. The notice of hearing was issued December 31st, 2020. Incident description: failure to adhere to Governor Charles Baker's executive order limiting capacity to 25% of total seating capacity, excluding staff, and failure to adhere to the board's revised advisory regarding the same. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
I am.
Please state your name and your role.
Yeah, my first name is Billy, spelling B-I-L-L-Y. Last name is Gu, spelling G-U. I am the general manager of the restaurant.
Thank you. Who is present from the Boston Police Department who will be testifying?
I will be.
Detective Hernandez. Are there any other individuals present with personal knowledge of the incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Could all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. Detective, you may proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report which I wrote on Thursday, December 31st, 2020 at about 8 p.m. Sergeant Detective Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the licensed premise unit under the direction of Lieutenant Detective Adrian Troy responded to Q Hotspot restaurant located at 660 Washington Street. Detectives were there to speak to staff regarding 311 complaint that had been received. The complaint was in regards to overcrowding at the establishment. As detectives walked inside, detectives asked the front door staff what the count of patrons located inside the establishment was. The staff member stated he did not have a count of patrons. Detectives learned that the capacity for the premise is set at 78 patrons. Detective Hernandez performed a mechanical count of the establishment. Detectives discovered that the actual amount of persons seated inside the premise was 34 patrons. Detectives reiterated the importance of the governor's and Boston Licensing Board COVID advisory on the current prohibition of no more than 25% of overall capacity inside the licensed premise. The reduced capacity for this premise would be 20 patrons. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Billy Gu. Mr. Gu stated that he would bring the establishment's capacity into compliance. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 004561, failure to adhere to Governor and Boston's Licensing Board COVID-19 advisory on the prohibition of more than 25% of the overall capacity in the licensing premise, overcrowding of the establishment. Mr. Gu signed for and accepted the notice. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Gu, would you like to address the board before the chairwoman and the commissioners ask any questions?
Does it mean that I explain what happened or?
Yes, please.
Oh yeah, so I was there present on 31st New Year's Eve, and the detector was totally correct. There was 34 people on premises, and when he came in, I was a little shocked because I didn't know. I was expecting this, but after he left, I did a little research on what exactly happened. So when the detector came in, there was actually 6 people in the front, and then 2 of them were a party that came in a little early, waiting to be seated, and then 2 of them was a party of a mom and a daughter trying to come in for dining, but I told them that we're over capacity, and then we're trying to, I persuade them to get takeout, and then they're waiting for their takeout. And then I believe that was either one or 2 Postmates or Uber Eats driver was here, and then went in the front. And I think there was one party coming earlier that I set them down. This is my mistake because they're regular, and they, I know that they're party two or one party that are leaving soon, and then it's kind of cold outside.
Excuse me, Mr. Gu, are you the manager of record at this restaurant?
I am, yes.
Okay. Do you understand that we are living through a public health crisis right now? It's a pandemic.
I understood.
Okay. Do you get our emails and our advisories?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you understand that it's 25% capacity that's allowed inside your restaurant right now?
I understood.
And it doesn't matter if you have regulars that come in and you're trying to be nice to them?
Yeah, I completely understood.
And it doesn't matter that it's New Year's Eve?
I completely understood. I am so
Okay,
sorry.
so what is your plan moving forward about Uber drivers and making sure the capacity at your establishment is at 20 people? Can you explain that to the board, what you plan to do?
Yes. I've already contacted the Yelp reservation system. So we are limiting the amount of people by the technology-wise. They're unable to book if it's over this amount of people first. And second is when there's Uber driver, I'll ask them to wait outside in their car, and then I'll bring out the food. Our staff will bring out the food to them.
How come you didn't know how many people were in your establishment on New Year's Eve?
What was that?
It says that when the officer arrived at the door, the person at the door did not know how many people were in the establishment. So tell me what you did leading up to New Year's Eve to educate your staff about the 25% capacity and what they would do in case someone tried to come in and order or sit down. Tell me what you did beforehand.
I think my my knowledge was limited to the fact that there was my mistake though. I wasn't aware of that people coming in to order or order takeout can be it's also counted as a sit down customer. I think that was my mistake.
I'm going to make it very clear right now. It's 25% of your capacity is allowed to be in the restaurant right now, excluding staff. It's your responsibility to count those people and to make sure only 25% of the people in there. There's no exceptions for Uber Eats. There's no exceptions for favorite customers who come in and want to sit down. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay,
yes.
I hope you don't see you before the board again.
I appreciate it.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions right now? This is your opportunity, Mr. Gu, to ask the board other questions that you may not understand about our rules and regulations. Do you have any questions?
Oh yes, I have one question.
Okay.
We have a double door, so there's like an entrance area. Is that also counted as premises?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I'll have to have them wait outside the outside door and call me, and then
Unfortunately, that is the case, and it's our job as the board to make sure that our licensees are following the rules and regulations that come down from the governor and come down from the mayor.
Okay, and sorry, one last question. If I open the outside door, can they wait at the outside door and then?
No, you have to have people wait outside in the cold. You'll have to make or ask them to stand someplace else.
Okay, so they'll have
It's very clear. You can only have 25% of the people inside your licensed premise.
Okay, I'm clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions? The board will take this matter under advisement. Calling Fogo de Chao Churrascaria Boston LLC, doing business as Fogo de Chao Churrascaria, located at 200 Dartmouth Street. This is a CV 7-day all alcoholic beverages license. The date of the issuance of the hearing is December 31st. The description is failure to adhere to Governor Charles Baker's executive order limiting capacity to 25% of total seating capacity, excluding staff, and failure to adhere to the board's advisory regarding the same. Who is present for the licensee?
Hi, this is Gene Richard, attorney for the licensee. With me on the Zoom call are Cheyenne DeCease, who is the on-premises manager, liquor manager, and the Northeast area manager, Ronaldo Chiesa.
I see Ms. Chiesa. Ms. DeCease, could you please turn on your video if you intend to testify?
Yes.
While you were turning on your video, who from the Boston Police Department will be testifying today?
Can
Detective
you see me
Singer?
here?
We could hear you.
If we use the same camera here for Ronaldo and myself?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
And are there any other individuals who wish to testify who have personal knowledge of this matter?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher if need be.
Thank you. If you could all please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. Once again, I'll be reading from police report, which I authored on Thursday, December 31st, 2020, about 6:35 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez signed to the License Supremacy Unit under the direction of Lieutenant Detective Adrian Troy. We're performing checks of the bars and restaurants during the COVID-19 emergency. We're walking into Fogo de Chao restaurant located at 200 Dartmouth Street. Detectives asked the front door staff what the count of patrons located inside the establishment was. Staff member stated that he did not have a count of patrons. Detectives learned that the capacity for this premise is set at 334 patrons. Detective Hernandez performed a mechanical count of the establishment. Detectives discovered the actual amount of persons seated inside the premise was 178 patrons. Detectives reiterated the importance of the governor's and Boston Licensing Board's COVID-19 advisory on the current prohibition of more than 25% overall capacity inside a licensed premise. The reduced capacity for the establishment would be 84 patrons. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Ms. Cheyenne DeCease. Ms. DeCease stated that she would bring the establishment capacity into compliance. Upon reviewing the licenses and permits of the establishment, detectives observed there was no current inspectional service department certificate posted, no current valet permit posted, and no current Boston Fire place of assembly permit posted. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 004558 for failure to adhere to Governor and Boston Licensing Board COVID-19 advisory on the prohibition of more than 25% of the overall capacity of the licensed premise of a carding of the establishment. No current ISD certificate posted, no current valet permit posted, no current BFD place of assembly permit posted. Ms. DeCease signed for and accepted the notice. That is all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney Richard, would you like to address the incident before the chairwoman and commissioners ask questions?
Yes, thank you. Chairman Joyce, members of the board. In the licensee's defense, Fogo has been working with health inspectors. Pardon? Fogo has been working with health inspectors periodically throughout this challenging year to respond to the COVID situation and keep their customers and staff safe as possible. This has been complicated, and I should explain in case you're not familiar with Fogo's pre-COVID or normal established business model. Is they are basically an all-you-can-eat for a set price restaurant, and they have table service of their Brazilian meats by gauchos who are also they basically serve and also
Attorney,
prepare the meeting.
what happened on New Year's Eve with the capacity? I understand the business model. And I
Okay.
understand the difficulty. But here we have a holiday, and it sounds like you were double the 25% capacity at 50. I would like to hear what you guys had done to ensure that you were at 25% capacity. I'm assuming these were reservations. Did you go about and call people and tell them the reservation was canceled? What happened here? This is a real serious violation. This comes down from the governor's office and the mayor's office. This is a public health violation. I don't know what you don't understand about that. It seems to me as if you're hoping you could get away with it on New Year's Eve and not get inspected. You're 50% over what you should have had in the restaurant that night. That's not a question of someone came in off the street and you had some Uber Eats drivers coming in. You had 50% more people that should have been there. What happened?
Let me address it, and then obviously questions can be asked of the manager and area manager. First of all, this was the first holiday that during COVID where the restaurant reached this number of reservations. They did not anticipate that New Year's Eve would be different from other holidays. They did limit their reservations to a number that they thought would stay within the 84% capacity. Although they obviously, as everyone else, had limited experience with the 25% that had been imposed just the week before. What happened is patrons took longer to eat, and that is really related to their business model and also the way they've gone about adjusting that to COVID. Some people took almost twice as long than the 1.5 hours.
How long would that have been?
Like 2 to 3 hours. People
Right.
were sitting at
It's
their
90. It's a 90-minute limit.
yes.
We've had to call places and cancel weddings. So if you could not, you should have called your patrons and told them they could not come in on New Year's Eve. It's a strict 90 minutes. You'll have to change your business model, and it's 25% of seating capacity. These are not made up regulations. These come from public health guidelines. I'm very sorry about it, but this is an egregious violation of our rules and regulations. We notified you. It was no surprise that this was New Year's Eve and that there were stricter capacity limits. It's your responsibility to get your guests out within 90 minutes. This question actually came up on one of our small business calls. They asked, what if the food can't be delivered and eaten within 90 minutes? And I answered, I said, I suggest you change your menu. It's not an excuse. And it's not even a reason why people were still there. You had bookings. You had 84 people. You had 178 people when they walked in. At what point did you think that was okay? When you were only supposed to have 83 or 84? Did you ever get concerned about that? Like, we have too many people? Did you remind your guests that they only had 90 minutes to complete their dinners? I understand it's New Year's Eve, and I understand these small businesses are hurting, but you've put us in a very difficult position. And you've also put your license on the line.
The licensee is aware of this, the seriousness of the COVID restrictions, and as I was attempting to say, has been working with that and taking it very seriously throughout this situation. I can only say I think they got overwhelmed on New Year's Eve. They had people, they to switch to what they're going to do to avoid this. They're going to have better communication with their valets. What happened was people unloaded from the car, came to the restaurant, and before their tables were ready, and then they came inside. They're going to manage their reservations closer before any holiday, or really any day, but it only really affected this holiday so far. They're going to do faster service to accomplish the table turnover within 1.5 hours. And the hostess station is going to maintain a count and just not admit people.
Again,
Yeah.
this all goes to public health is trying not to have people gather for longer periods of time. So that's why the 90 minutes is there.
Understood.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Or the manager?
I don't have any other add. I'm not sure about the manager, or if you have any specific questions.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, when one restaurant does not abide by the rules and regulations, it's difficult for the restaurant. But when a lot of restaurants are not abiding by the rules and regulations, it's very difficult for the board to make sure that we're operating safely. And that's when more restrictions have to come in. So I suggest you spend some time reworking your operations plan and notify the board what that new plan is going to be, especially since the 90 minutes and the seating capacity is different from what you're used to operating under. Commissioner Saxon, Commissioner Curran, do you have any questions?
Just as a suggestion, maybe you guys need to have a timer for each table, a timer that both the guests and you see, so that everyone knows how to keep track. And then just a question about the licenses. What was the date? What was they were overdue, but what was the date of the license? The assembly permit.
Yeah, the city's a little bit behind with these inspections, which we understand. Yeah, because of
They just
COVID.
weren't posted.
Got it.
Yeah.
We couldn't verify any dates on it. They just didn't have them up. That was it.
No. I
It
could
might have been
address
valid.
those. I'm sorry, I could address those three if the board wishes.
Sure.
The place of assembly is current. They have one that expires 9/30/2021, and it had mistakenly been filed in the office but not posted. It is now posted. The ISD certificate of inspection, the fee was paid in November. The last inspection was in September. An item was noted that was fixed within a day or two. Pictures of the repair were sent to Inspector Colbath on September 11th, and the next day the inspector said by email, "Thank you for the update, looks good," but they have not received the certificate.
Yeah, we've been working very closely with them, so we understand the situation that our licensees are in.
We appreciate that. The valet service is subcontracted with Boston Valet. The latest permit did expire in June 30th of last year, 2020. The renewal has been prepared. It, I think, slipped through the cracks, and we intend to submit that, if not today, in the next day or two, as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you. If you have any questions about the rules and regulations of the board, please reach out to our staff. We will work with you. We will help you, but you need to abide by our rules and regulations.
The board will take this matter under advisement. These are the only items before the board today. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.